Hi guys! Today I'm going to show you how to make this sling tote bag. This bag is perfect for beginners because it's easy to make. And I also show you how to add an adjustable strap and how to add lining so there are no raw edges even on the inside. Plus, I add all the measurements in the description below so you can copy the bag size or turn it into whatever shape you want. And without further ado, let's get started. To start, this bag has 7 pieces. And first up is the fun. Today I will be using this cute Harry Potter fabric that I've already cut to a rectangle that measures 22 cm by 26 cm with seam allowance all around. And I will put all the measurements here and in the description below. And you will be needing 2 fronts. Moving on to the lining. The lining is the exact same size as the front. And like the front, you will need 2 of them. Next up is the side lining, which is just 2 strips of cloth that are 1.5 inches in width and 76 cm long, with seam allowance all around. Then you will need some light interfacing, and you will just need enough for both the front and the lining. After that, we have the strap. The strap is just a fabric strap that I have cut to 47 cm. And later I'm going to burn the edges to prevent fraying. To attach the strap to the bag, you will need 2 D-rings, and because I want to make my strap adjustable, I brought 1 metal strap adjuster. And for the bag's closure, I'll be using these magnetic snaps, but you can replace it with any other kind of closure, or don't use one at all. And that's all, other than the things you will need for any kind of sewing project. Starting with step 1, I'm going to take both of my fronts and put it on top of my interfacing, like so. Then I'm going to iron it onto the interfacing before cutting it out. And now that both of my fronts have the interfacings ironed on, we can move on to ironing the interfacing onto the lining. To start, we are going to take one of our linings and we are going to iron a strip of interfacing onto the top of the lining. The size of the interfacing doesn't matter because it's just there to support the handle and magnetic closure later. And you will repeat so both of our linings have interfacing. Next, we are going to start the actual sewing process. First, I'm going to take one of our front and side linings. I'm going to start pinning it in place. First, I'm going to make sure both of these corners are aligned. Then I'm going to keep pinning straight down until we get to the curve. Here you can see if we pin along the curve, there is this bundle of fabric. So to fix that, I'm just going to cut a fringe along the curve so it doesn't bunch up. And I will show you how to cut the fringe later. And you will keep pinning to the other corner and all the way to the top. And now that I've pinned one side in the corner, you can see what I meant by fringing the corner. Then I'm going to start sewing from the top all the way down to the curve, stopping in the middle. Then I'm going to repeat sewing the side lining in place on the other side. Now that I've finished sewing the side lining on, the next step would be to attach our second front. But before we can do that, we will quickly mark our 5 marks, which are in the corners here and in the middle. And this will help us when we are top stitching over here later. Starting with the front without any lining, I'm going to mark the top 2 corners, marking after the seam allowance. Then I'm going to mark 24 cm down after the seam allowance ends like this. Then marking our third point, which is right here in the middle, and to mark our fourth and fifth point, I'm going to measure 10 cm away from the middle on both sides. Then I'm going to repeat with the other side, and because I've already marked it on the inside, I'm going to use a pin and mark the outside. To do that, I'm going to take the pin, find the mark I've already marked on the inside, poke it through the fabric to the outside and mark it. And I'm going to repeat till I've marked all 5 marks. Then I'm going to attach the 2 fronts together using the side linings like we did before. After you have sewn both your fronts together like this, I'm going to quickly cut the fabric under the fringe like this on all 4 corners. Next, I'm going to repeat the entire process with the lining, so I have 2 bags. Before we sew the lining to the front, I'm going to quickly flip it inside out. Then top stitch around the sides to sew down these floppy bits, sewing from the top down to our 24 mark on both sides of the bag. Then sew the bottom from one 10 cm mark to the other. And to finish up, sew both corners. We do this sewing it bit by bit to make sure when we sew it, the fabric doesn't get pulled or stretched. This is probably the hardest bit because the angle the bag is at is unique, to say the least. And now that I've finished top stitching all along the sides, I'm going to take my lining and attach my snaps. And I'll be adding these 2 thin strips of vinyl to the bag to help strengthen where I'm going to put the straps. Now, I'm not going to show you step by step on how to attach your magnetic snaps. So if you want to know how, click the video link in the top right corner or in the description below. Now that both of our snaps are on, I'm going to go ahead and attach our D-rings. And to do that, I'm just going to take my D-ring, put it on one of the straps, and sew it into the side here, on both sides of the bag. Now that our D-rings are sewn in place, it's time to attach our lining to the bag. To do that, I'm going to take the bag, make sure it's flipped right side out, before pushing it inside the lining so the right sides are touching. Then I'm going to pin all along the top, making sure to leave a small space to turn it inside out. Then I'm going to go ahead and sew along the rim of the bag, making sure to leave a small hole to turn it inside out. After that, I'm going to turn it inside out. And right now you can see that we can flip the lining out like this. Well, we will deal with that later. First, I'm going to sew up the hole that I used to turn it inside out. And to do that, I'm going to use a ladder stitch. And if you don't know how to do a ladder stitch, click the video link in the top right corner or in the description below. Now that I've sewn the hole shut, I'm going to top stitch all along the rim of the bag, skipping where the straps are and the snaps. So I will just sew these 4 lines like this. Then I'm going to flip my bag inside out and sew 4 small anchors on the inside of the bag, making sure that the bag's lining can't slip out like before. And since I've already done that, I'm going to skip to the next and final step, which is attaching our adjustable strap. To start, I'm going to take the strap and slide it through one of our D-rings and fold the edge twice before pinning it in place. Then I'm going to slide the adjuster in and slide the strap through our D-ring. Then I'm going to double back and loop it through the metal divider in the adjuster, like this, making a loop. Then I will pull the end of the strap back and I will sew it in place here. So I will only need to sew these 2 spots, making sure to double fold the edge. So I will only need to sew these 2 spots, making sure to double fold the edge. And with that, our bag is finished. I hope this video inspired and helped you make your own tote bag. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Comment down below if you have any questions on what you want to see next. See you guys next week. Bye!